Hello everyone. It's been a little while since I've been on camera. Life happened, as do all things, but I have a little bit of a life update, and as I promised in the George Harrison video that I posted, I will be talking about my Disney trip, but real quick life update. The reason I was gone was I had home renovations done. There was a room in my house that originally was a room, but the door was a chair rating. It used to be a garage, and we finally my household decided we wanted to make the change and make it into a full garage. So that was a full undertaking. Just myself really taking everything out of that room, so then that way the demo and everything could happen, and then it be converted into a garage. And that was a multi-month effort. There was a lot of factors that went into that. And then also I went to Disney World the last week of November, which was Thanksgiving. First week of December, so the very end of November was Black Friday, and I traveled down to Walt Disney World in Florida for a whole week, and it was fun. There was a lot of positive things, some negative things about that. I'll get into that. This could be like a two-part video here, but just to kind of start off, the preamble was a minute or so of what's been going on in life. I do also have a concert lined up in March, which is Sabaton with Pop Evil. I'm forgetting right now who the other person is that's going to be opening up, if there is one. I'll put it somewhere on the screen for you here, just so you can see. I'll put it somewhere here on the screen, then you can see who else is there. But I'm really excited to be going, because that's at the same venue I saw Coheed and Cambria at. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get rolling into this story time. Join the pirate crew. Like, subscribe, and ring the ship's bell to be notified when the captain posts new content. Also, I wanted to add that I started going to the gym. It's only been like 1 or 2 weeks that I've kind of been doing that. I had a day off to film a whole bunch of content, and unfortunately, because it was icing out, I couldn't go. I feel a little sad about that, but you know, these things happen. Days are there, but I'm hoping as time goes along and I put out some more content and all that, really starts to show here on camera. But I'm feeling better. Can't wait to get back out there. But as I said a moment ago, I went down to Disney, traveled essentially Black Friday, ended up staying somewhere in Georgia, and I'll get into that. But this first part is kind of like the preamble trip, but just in general, went and stayed in Georgia for a night, and then drove out into Disney proper and stayed a week. So the first thing is we had Cracker Barrel for my mom, and I had Cracker Barrel. My mom was who went with me, but we had Cracker Barrel for Thanksgiving dinner, which has become a mini tradition for us, especially since sometimes when we do have my family over, they've been working recently, and just life has not been conducive to us having an actual Thanksgiving meal. So we had just me and my mom, and we left pretty dang early in the morning. Now, I was traveling from Virginia down to Florida, and it's not an insignificant drive. That's it. From Florida up to here is about 12 hours ish, roughly. So it was a bit of a drive, but we ended up stopping at a couple of Buc-ee's. If you're familiar with that gas station chain, I like to stop there quite a bit. It's fun. It's part of the process of going down. Now, I can't see it if I fly down there, so that's why I like driving. It's a little more control with driving. Yes, it's a little bit longer, but from where I'm at, it's actually cheaper to pay for gas on the way down and up and stay somewhere than it is to fly. So that really kind of helped with the budget and everything when it came to this trip. So we stayed in Kingsland, Georgia. It's actually a really cute little area. And what I really liked about it is, much like around here, we don't have that anymore, but in my city, we did have some train tracks. They're no longer used, but there were train tracks that were being used in this town. And my mom and I, we had stopped for dinner, and when we looked outside, there was an actual train going through the city. And it was, this was of course during Christmas time and the beginnings of Christmas season and everything. So the train was all dolled up to look Christmassy. And it was just really nice to sit there, have a nice meal, see the train go by, and all of that. And we'd stayed at a really nice hotel. And what I really liked about this hotel was that they really themed up the front office, the lobby area. And if I put some photos up here from that, I only took like 1 or 2 photos. I didn't take too much of the hotel, but it was really nice. The breakfast area was nice too, but it just has a really nice vibe to it. I remember the previous time we had gone down, which was 2023 time frame, we had stayed in St. Augustine, and they were doing a lot of heavy road work. The people would not let us through. We almost missed our turn to the hotel. It was in the back of the area, and I'm telling you, it was like 70 degrees out, and that particular hotel lobby, they had cranked it up to 90 degrees. It was very warm. So a huge stark contrast, and it was cold. When we had left, it was cold from where I was. It was going to stay cold, and it got gradually warmer, which was really nice during the time I was down there in Florida. But I digress. We had stayed there. Of course, we drove down, and it was really nice. After we had, got our things, got some breakfast, it was only about a couple hour drive to Disney World. Now, we had stayed at Port Orleans French Quarter, which Port Orleans is a pair of resorts. There's Port Orleans French Quarter and Port Orleans Riverside. And this is more, if you're familiar with the area, this is more towards the Disney Springs section. So Disney Springs, if you're not familiar with that, is the more shopping district area. It's not necessarily a outlet mall. It's more than that. There's dining. There's an entertainment venue in House of Blues. There's Cirque du Soleil. They have a balloon ride. They have what's called amphicars, which are cars that legitimately drive on water. So there's a lot going on there. But what's really nice about Port Orleans French Quarter is just the theming. It's a very small resort. It's one of the smallest resorts on property. It had about like maybe 9 buildings. And it was all themed to the New Orleans streets. I've never been to New Orleans. I want to very badly, but it was just really nice. I liked the vibe there. Now, I had stayed previously at Boardwalk and Beach Club. I love that whole Boardwalk area. But this area is giving it a run for the money, and I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going to stay next time when I go back down. From what I heard, that this particular resort is one that gets the most return visitors, and I could see why. It's a smaller resort, very quiet. There were families there, of course, but I hear some stories online of like, people were, the kids were loud at night. It was hard to sleep. Not the case here. Out of the 3 rooms that I've stayed in, this was my favorite themed room. Was themed to Tiana and Princess and the Frog, and it, just the whole vibe of this place I really enjoyed. And what's nice is if you walk into the lobby, it's seems like you're not like a train station, but more like a city square, because there's a fountain in the front area, and then they have a whole like not food court area, but they have a really nice what's called a quick service area. A quick service being the type of food that you can quickly get in and out of. You don't have to sit down with the server. And they did have a jazz club. Unfortunately, when I went, it was all completely full. All the seats were taken by that point, by the time we had gotten down there and gotten everything taken care of. It's just really nice. As you're watching this, I'm probably going to be putting some photos up on screen here so you can see that. It was just really nice. In the central area of but once you get past all the food court and everything, there's an arcade to the right, and it kind of opens up into these city streets, and each of them are labeled, and there's some fountains within each area. And what's really nice about this resort is each set of buildings, the road wraps around, and each of the buildings has kind of like a cut-in area where you could drop your stuff off and then walk it up pretty easily, and lots of parking. Didn't have any problem parking with my car and everything, so it really was a nice area. And what's really nice is they have not what's called the Epcot area. They have what's called the Friendship Boats, where it's boat transportation that'll take you to multiple resorts and multiple theme parks. So for example, in the Epcot resort area, if you're staying at Yacht Club, Beach Club, Boardwalk, and Swan and Dolphin, which is what's called a Good Neighbor Hotel. I'm not getting into that in this video, but if you had stayed at any of those, you could take a boat to any one of those resorts, or you could take one to Epcot or to Hollywood Studios. And then Epcot has what's called the Skyliner, which is another way of kind of getting around, another public transportation way. So you can take the boat to go around. And what's nice about the Port Orleans boats is it only has a couple of stops. It stops at Port Orleans Riverside, which is, again, I think the sister or brother resort, depending on the terminology you want to use, and then over to Disney Springs. And then you can head over to Saratoga Springs if you wanted to go in and look at that lobby and everything. But my mom and I had reservations at a place called Boatwrights, which is over at Riverside. So we hopped the boat, and the Riverside's really pretty as well. Just a little bit different theming. More plantation houses on the river type of vibe rather than the New Orleans square type of vibe. Two completely different ways of thinking, of theming, and that's one thing I like about staying on Disney property is the theming behind all of the resorts for the most part, although I don't like some of the theming that has been happening, the de-theming that's been happening, but that's another video for another day on this channel. But we had gone there and we had used what's called the Disney Dining Plan. So the Disney Dining Plan allows you to prepay for all the food and essentially drink throughout your entire stay. And it equaled out to about $100 a day, which for some people is quite a lot, but when it comes to Disney, that's $100 for basically 3 meals. So you have what's called a table service credit, where it's you sit down and have somebody wait on you, and then a quick service credit, which is like that food court style food, and then you also get called what's a snack, like a small thing. So what's really interesting is I didn't really blow my diet while I was down there, despite having all of that, but it was absolutely worth it. So Boatwrights was themed to there was like a boat being built in the middle, so it was very intricately themed. Our food was really nice. It was nice to have an area just to sit and relax. And this is, of course, during the time during Christmas. So there was a giant Christmas tree. There was a whole bunch of really cool things that were there to kind of take a look at. And of course, bought some merchandise while I was there. So it was really quite a lot of fun, if I'm being honest. So we had gone there and we had basically essentially begun to prepare for the week that was chaos. That's the easiest way I could say it. Thank you so much for watching here. This is the end of part 1 of 2. Actually, I don't know how long I could be talking about this, but trying to break this up into digestible segments. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I have a lot more planned for this year. But have you ever been to Disney World? Let me know down in the comments below. If you have a favorite place to stay, I'd love to have some conversation on the comments below. I have a lot planned for this year. So you're going to see at least part 2 of this Disney video here, hopefully soon. Until then, as I say at the end of everything, mostly everything that I'm in, when the waters get rough, keep on sailing. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Bye.